Do you like scary movies? Many people do, and so do I. Movies in general are used to tell stories and evoke all kinds of feelings from viewers, anything from sadness to happiness. Alongside the plot, people who work on movies utilize all kinds of things in order to convey a target emotion from audiences. Horror films are a genre of movies that are meant to scare and disturb viewers, and there are many techniques used to create that fear, one of them being special effects. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. Before we get started, just as a warning to viewers who might be a little sensitive to more graphic scenes, I am going to be including some clips from horror films that are a little bit more gory, so just be warned, this might not be the video for you. Special effects in horror films have drastically changed over time, with the first use of it being in 1895. It's a short clip titled The Execution of Mary Stuart. And just a year later, in 1896, the first horror film ever titled, well, I'm not going to even try to pronounce this, but the translation is The House of the Devil. It also used special effects. These films used very basic forms of special effects and can help us understand the way the special effects in horror films of the past compare to the special effects in horror films of today. But before we can address their metamorphosis, it's important to get an understanding of special effects themselves. There are two categories of special effects. The first category is practical effects. Practical effects are physical aspects on a set that are used to create scenes. There are prosthetics, which are used in horror films to make actors look older, disfigured, monster-like, or badly injured. There's also makeup, puppets, and animatronics, like the ones in The Thing that are used to create the antagonist of the movie. There's miniatures, which are mostly used for settings, and pyrotechnics, which is basically the use of fire and explosions to create pretty cool scenes. One prominent figure in the practical effects scene is Dick Smith. Dick Smith originally went to school to become a dentist. While in school, he found a theatrical makeup set and guide in a store and taught himself to use makeup and prosthetics. As a young man with this newfound talent, he would dress himself up as monsters and scare his friends on campus, which is pretty funny. He ended up working as a makeup artist for a news station and slowly made his way onto the movie scene, where he would change the way prosthetics are used in films forever. Prior to the techniques he introduced, prosthetics were used in films, but they were full prosthetics, kind of like masks. His art was breaking these masks down to individual pieces, like a nose, a cheek, or a wrinkly forehead. This technique helped prosthetics look more natural on the faces of actors and blend in with their features smoothly. He also helped create the concoction used for fake blood in horror movies to this day. He is famous for his work on The Exorcist and Scanners. Along with him, another talented artist known for his work in the horror genre, who was influenced by Dick Smith, is Rob Bottin, who is famous for his work on The Thing, which is a personal favorite of mine, and he's also worked on movies like The Fog and Mimic. Both figures, along with many others in the industry, helped pave the way for the kinds of advanced practical effects we see being used in films of the present to make scenes appear more realistic. The second category of special effects is visual effects. Visual effects are things added during the editing process to create scenes. There are more basic visual effects, like cutting clips to create transitions and make things disappear or appear on screen. And then there are more complicated visual effects. As technology advanced, visual effects like green screening, motion capture, and matte painting, which is digital painting to add details or structures that are not in a setting in real life, were introduced and implemented. Probably the most famous kind of visual effects is CGI, which stands for computer-generated imagery. CGI is the creation of still or animated visuals through computer software. Many would assume CGI is a recent addition to the visual effects category, and well, they would be a little wrong and a little right. CGI was invented in the 1950s, originally used for military and scientific purposes, such as flight simulators and 3D models. Over time, John Whitney Jr., known as the father of motion graphics, introduced CGI to the film industry. In its early uses in the film industry, CGI was strictly used for opening credits and title sequences before being integrated into the actual stories of films, helping create monsters and enhance gore and settings. Its first use in a film ever was in Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, made in 1958, used for its title sequence. Now it seems like CGI is in every movie, which is partly true since its introduction and the improvement of technology over the years. CGI is now being used for many more features of horror films, and it is used in movies of every genre too. Some would argue it's being a little overly used, but despite this, there are horror franchises like Terrifier that make it their mission to use as little CGI as possible and stick to the more traditional practical effect route. Special effects in horror films have changed over time as new techniques for practical effects are introduced and as new technologies push visual effects to higher levels. One could look to the future and wonder what the next thing to revolutionize special effects in horror films and movies in general will be. Possibly AI or something else entirely. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to comment your favorite scary movie and give me a like if you enjoyed this video. Bye guys!